Hey guys, welcome to another Road to Med video. Today, we're talking about a formal topic. That's why we have our formal fits on. We're going to be ranking the top pre-med programs in Canada for you guys. I know this journey is very confusing, so having somebody give you the pros and cons of each of the universities and each of the programs is really helpful, and that's what we're trying to do with this video.
Okay guys, I'm going to be talking about York Biomedical Sciences, and we personally would rate this into the D tier. And there's a few cons which I would like to mention. So for example, research is really competitive to get because of how large of a school it is. But that's just on the extracurricular side. In terms of your GPA and whatnot, biomedical sciences does require you to take a lot of heavy courses, so it doesn't leave you with much elective space if you plan on looking for something that's interesting. On top of that, just because you are taking those heavy courses, that doesn't mean it's going to prepare you well for its MCAT, just because of in terms of how good York is known for their sciences. A pro that I would like to mention is that York University does have really large class sizes, so you're not really doing much group project, and it's more of individual work. You could see that as a con if you just don't like doing individual work that much. On top of that, York University is really good to get a high GPA just because of the content that you're learning. It's not that much, so it's going to be really great for you guys to go through it. And another pro for that is that the professors are heard to be really fun, so you might not skip your 8:30s, you might actually go to them just because the content is more enjoyable. But I would like to mention the best pro of all is City Boy JJ.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about TMU Biomed. So this is what we're also going to put in D tier, and this slightly edges out York. So the reasons why I'm going to go over right now. So we're going to start with the cons. TMU Biomed is a very big program, and they auto-enroll you in a lot of courses. So you're put in chem, bio, phys, all these courses right away, and you don't have a choice, and you have very little elective space, which kind of sucks too. Another con about TMU Biomed is the fact that a lot of the profs are known to not be the best. This is from people that we know and people we talk to, and you have to rely on a lot of self-teaching for subjects like bio, physics, and math. All these things you're going to have to learn by yourself. That's a con. I will say there are a lot of pros though. So a big pro is the fact that there is possible to have a high GPA, especially in these chem, bio, and physics courses, just because of the fact that it's a lot of review, and TMU is known to have a bit less crazy content like other schools like UofT and everything. Another thing is that there's a lot of abundant research, which is important as a pre-med, and a lot of extracurriculars. Your downtown, social life. A lot of these things are really important. And just to note about the research, you are right beside St. Mike's, you're right beside UHN, you're right beside Mount Sinai. A lot of research opportunities. So I would say that it's good in that way, but again, there are a lot of flaws. One thing to point out though for York and TMU is that they're having med schools opening up very soon, so that could be another thing we can look at. But right now, we're going to put both of those in D tier.
All right, guys, now we're going to move on into our C tier universities. So at the bottom of the C tier, we would rank Laurier Health Sci and Waterloo Health Sci pretty close together. So obviously, both universities are based in Waterloo. And let's start talking about Laurier Health Sci first, right? So some pros of Laurier Health Sci is that the classes are pretty easy, they're pretty bird, and it's very easy to get a high GPA in the program. There's also a lot of support because it is a smaller university, so a lot of professors do help you out and stuff, and it's easy to get opportunities with them if you want to be a TA or even if you want to get involved in research. However, there are some cons, which is simply that because it is a smaller university, it isn't as known of and it doesn't do as much research. So if you are finding professors who are doing research, that's like a pretty low probability of happening. Now, aside from that, their co-op is also pretty questionable, I would say, because the city is smaller. There isn't actually a lot of opportunity to do a co-op that probably would provide you a lot of value, and that's just some of the cons of Laurier Health Sci. Now let's move on to Waterloo. So obviously Waterloo has its reputation for engineering and maths. So again, Health Sci in this program just isn't as good. There are co-op opportunities here, which is a massive pro. And because Waterloo does offer very good co-op opportunities, you can get co-ops in Toronto, potentially even the States, and in big labs. So that is one of the biggest pros of the program. Cons-wise, we would say that because they don't focus as much in health science, there isn't enough funding, and the professors and the classes just aren't good enough, and it might be hard to actually prepare for the MCAT and do well in your classes just because of the amount of self-studying that's going to need to be done.
So I'm going to be talking about Ottawa Health Sci. And this program we would rate in the C tier as well. So Ottawa Health Sci is offered in either the English stream or the French stream. But to be honest, I don't even know if most of you guys can say more than just bonjour. But if you know French, you know French. So there are a lot of cons with this program. So managing time is really, really, really important in this. So there are a lot of heavy courses you are going to be taking, such as anthropology or chemistry. So make sure you're well ahead on those. But apart from that, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't think there's more cons to this except for just heavy courses. So just make sure you can manage your time well. There are as well a lot of pros though. So co-op is a significantly big pro that you have because they're affiliated with a lot of hospitals nearby, and you are in the main capital of Canada. So might as well take advantage of that. As well, with Ottawa Health Sci, there is a lot of mandatory bird courses you are going to be taking. So it does kind of equal out with those heavy courses you are taking, so you do have enough time for your extracurriculars and whatnot.
So now we're going to finish off the C tier with 2 more programs. So we're going to start with Guelph Biomed. So Guelph Biomed is known as a very rigorous pre-med program, and I know a lot of people that ended up going there. Let's kind of start with the cons. So our big con with Guelph Biomed is the fact that you are, like TMU, putting these courses, and you have very little elective space, which could be difficult because let's say you're taking chem, math, physics, bio. That's a lot of stuff. Your GPA can get hit, and a lot of people end up feeling that in that first year. Now, the good thing is that it lightens through the years, which is great, like all schools do, but this one a bit easier. Another thing about Guelph that you could look at as a con or a pro is that it's smaller. It's a smaller school. The good thing is that you get closer with your professors, tighter-knit communities, you're in smaller classes, you can talk and get more opportunities possibly. The problem, though, is that if you're in too small of a place, there's not that many opportunities. So I don't know many people that have Guelph research that I know that go to that school. It's difficult. So I would just say to look out for that especially. Again, there are pros, but also, the cons might outweigh them in this case. Now let's go to Western Health Sci. I know a lot of people that went to this program too. And there are really good things about this. I'm going to start with the good things for this one. The fact that, number 1, it's easier to get a higher GPA. Number 2, it's a bigger school. It's a well-known school. A lot of research goes on at Western. So Western Health Sci has been known to be really good in that way. There are some cons, however. Number 1, it is quite misleading, the name. It's not a lot of health science courses like Queen's and Mac. It's more like health policy. People are taking medieval courses. People are taking very different courses that are a bit further from MCAT prep, right? You can have a great GPA, but guess what? The CARMS admission are going to look at your MCAT score as well. So you also want to have a good basis in biochemical, physical, and chemistry, cars. All you want to be able to be set, and that's what a lot of these programs do, aside of Western Health Sci. So I would just say, look into that especially, right? That's a big thing.
So now there's McGill, Anat, and Cell Bio, and us personally, we would rate this into the B tier. So there's not that many people that I know that did apply to McGill just because it's in another province, and there's not that many people who choose to apply there just because of how competitive it is. But I personally would rate this as a pretty good school. But I do want to mention that I did choose Queen's Health Sci over this program. That was just my personal opinion. I did take a lot of consideration into it. So a lot of cons with this program is that there is a lot of deflation in your grades because of how tough it is. And on top of that, if you did take any IB or AP, those credits automatically get transferred, and you automatically have to start taking second year chemistry and organic chemistry or second year biology, everything in the first year itself. So you're technically skipping a year. So it is going to be a significant jump from high school. You're going to be doing so much more work straight away. But there are also a lot of pros to this. So for example, you're living in Montreal, like you're legal at 18, like who doesn't want that? But on top of that, it's really, really good for its research. It's like known internationally for that as well. It's a nice place to be. It's also cheaper. So I don't know, that's more of the non-pre-med terms, but that's what I personally would say. It is overall also a really good school in terms of studying. So you're going to make a lot of friends there. It's going to be a lot of diversity, and you're just going to be having a fun time while doing it. And now we also have UofT Life Sci. That has the same tier, B tier. It also has the same types of pros and cons. So cons are going to be there's a lot of deflation, it's a lot of competitiveness, and it's just because of how big school it is, you're not going to be able to find research that easily as you would if you were in a smaller school. But on top of that, its pros again are going to be that it's really good for its research. So if you do manage to get research, you're basically set. You might as well have sick kids in the first year. and as well, you're just gonna have a lot more diversity, and you're gonna be living in Toronto. It's just, as much as I want to say that studying is your priority, you should also prioritize your mental health, because you don't really want to be studying somewhere in like the middle of nowhere and just have like barely any friends, because then you're not going to want to study. At least if you're with someone, you can make a nice study friend group, and you could be having fun in Toronto, going out to clubs in the weekends and then studying on the weekdays. So that's just something I want to mention. But otherwise, we would rate both of those in the B tier.
All right, guys, now we're going to talk about Western Med Sci and UBC Life Sci. So I would say the pros and cons of this program are pretty similar. Let's start off with UBC Life Sci first. So obviously, guys, Vancouver's an excellent city. It's really beautiful, and UBC has a lot of places to study. And because it's like a city campus, there's a lot of programs that UBC run in order to make people more tight-knit and in order to make the community more tight-knit. So it's easy to find friends, it's easy to connect to professors, and if you need help in anything, the professors are extremely helpful, and they will get you the support that you need. And I would say that is one of the best things you can have in any pre-med program. If you're struggling with a class like Orgo, you need to be able to reach out with your professor and let them know what you're struggling with and have them reach back out to you ASAP. So the cons for this program, though, are the fact that the grading is pretty hard, and there are a lot of set classes that you need to take. So there isn't a lot of room to kind of alter your schedule, explore new areas of the field, or even take bird classes, which sucks. Now, I would say the grading can be overlapped. If you study hard, work hard, you'll do well. And even though there's harsh grading, you guys will still do great in all your classes, but you do have to work extra hard compared to some of the S tier programs that we're going to mention. Now, Western Med Sci is an excellent program. It has a lot of support. It has great professors, and the Western community is excellent. From everyone who goes to Western Med Sci, I've heard that there's amazing opportunities to get connected with your professors, and all their resources are extremely helpful, and it's good. The resources are available so that you can do well in all your classes, things like exam banks, stuff like that. However, because the class sizes are larger, it's hard to get some of that personalized attention that you need, and sometimes it could be hard to connect with your professor. Now, for both UBC and Western, it's also important to note that because they're in cities like London and Vancouver, it's very, very easy to get research opportunities just because there's so many people there, and it's so possible to get connected with a professor and, work in their lab or something.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about two more in the A tier. So these are Mac Life Sci and Queen's Life Sci. So let me start with Mac Life Sci. I'm going to put Mac Life Sci just behind Queen's Life Sci. I know you guys might think it's biased because I'm in Queen's Life Sci, but this is the exact reason why, and I'll go over the pros and the cons. Let's start with the pros. So Mac Life Sci is a great program. You're at a great school with a lot of research. Mac's great at research. They have a med school. They have tons of stuff. Mac is amazing. They have Hamilton Health Sciences Center. Everything's there. A problem is, though, I'm going to start with the biggest con, the fact that you will have a very difficult course load, and that includes all your core courses, physics, bio, chem, and there is not a lot of space for electives. Mac Life Sci, you can correct me, but I have a lot of friends that said that it's very rigorous and it's very difficult. Number two, you guys have to, if you're in Mac Life Sci, you'd have to compete for your specialization. That means that you need to have a high enough GPA to get into a specialization, which I'll compare to Queen's, which is a bit less rigorous. I think finally, the thing is, and I'll talk about this at Queen's too, there's a very kind of toxic environment with life science and health science. I feel that not a lot of life science get along with a lot of health science, and a lot of health science get along with a lot of life science, so it does kind of create a toxic environment. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that I think it happens everywhere, but especially at Mac it happens. Now, let's go to Queen's. So Queen's Life Sci, I'm in. It's great. Again, the first year courses, though, are not forgiving. You got to take physics, bio, chem, math. First year's tough, I gotta be honest, and that's with every life sci. A good thing, though, that I could say, and I will also say this about Mac, you are allowed to take some health sci courses for Queen's. So you can take up to 3 health sci courses during your year, and the good thing about Queen's that I think makes it a bit better is the fact that a lot of our core courses, like physiology, we have a stats course. A lot of these courses are overlaps with the health sci courses, and the health sci courses are usually pretty easy. Grade distribution wise, they say that. So I think it's a good thing to be able to do that and to have the freedom to take those courses. Another thing about Queen's that is pretty good in my opinion is that, again, the specialization competition is lower. So you just need to reach a threshold and you'll get into Life Sci. At Mac, I heard it's a lot more competitive. One thing I can say is really good about both these programs and why I like them in A is the fact that they do prepare you for the MCAT. You got all these things that are going to prepare you for the physics and chem section, the biochem section, the chemistry section. All of this, it helps you a lot. So that's why they're really good. And also, Queens and Mac, like I said, really good research. They both have med schools. They're both associated with hospitals. They're great.
Okay guys, so now this is our program, Queen's Health Sci. So there's going to be a lot of bias in this video, but we would put this at the S tier beside McMaster Health Sci. So one of the biggest pros that I do want to mention is the blended learning style. So this does really depend on how you like to study and how your learning style is, but I personally would say that it's a really big pro. So how the blended learning style works is that I know a lot of people understand that this is why Queen's Health Sci is popular, but they don't understand how it really works, and this is why we created our YouTube channel to help educate you guys. So how it works in the blended learning style is that you guys are going to be given your modules, which is a more fun, interactive type of way for you guys to be studying, and then you study through those modules, and then you go to class about once a week. So for example, in Fiji, you would go once a week, and then you would go to your class. You would have a group project where you guys would be working together to help solve questions, and they're really, really simple questions where you guys are all collaborating together, going through whatever you learned in that module, and it's just how most of your grades going to be made. But another pro that I would like to mention is that a lot of our courses are pretty easy courses. So you also have a pretty good amount of elective space. So most of the stuff you're going to be doing, it's not going to take much of your time. You don't even need to have that good of time management. I can't even lie. But that leaves you with a lot of extracurricular and a lot of easy chances to get research. So there's going to be a lot of people who have publications, and you could be one of them as well. So Queen's Health Sci does give you a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't really get.
Okay, now, honestly, we don't like to cover this part because these are obviously the cons of our program, right? But in all fairness, like, we have to be unbiased here, right? And piggybacking off of what Jap said, right? There are a million people with publications here, and that can get pretty scary, especially if you're in first year and you're not fully sure of how the system works and you're just getting adjusted. And there's already some dude here who's already in 6 clubs and has 10 publications, and he's been doing research since he was 12 years old, right? These things can get very scary, and the competitive side of all these top tier programs is something that no one really talks about. As much as Queens tries to make it an inclusive space for everyone, right? It does get really competitive here. So just watch out, make your group of friends, stick to your group of friends, because there are people here who will try and snake you, because obviously everyone is gunning for that med school application spot. So that's one of the biggest cons. And also in terms of the flip teaching style, if you're somebody who likes going and interacting with the professor and hearing what they have to say about the topic, then maybe this program isn't the best for you. But I would say that it's really good if you want to go into med school, because it kind of shows you how you're supposed to be learning.
Yeah, and a point I really would like to mention is that, for example, I didn't think that Queens would have a lot of brown people or like a lot of different races around here, because I've heard that Queens is more of like a white school, so you're gonna have a lot of imposter syndrome, right? But I want it to be really, really clear, it's not like that at all over here. There's so many different people from different places, GTA, Vancouver, wherever you're from, and it's really easy to find people who you really like enjoying. Like I have my 2 best friends here right here, so don't worry about that. You're gonna have fun wherever you go. Just don't worry.
Now we're gonna talk about our number 1 coveted S tier Mac Health Sci. If you're a Premed in Canada, you know about Mac Health Sci. I think everyone does. And again, we all know the pros to it. There's really good seminar classes which have high GPA. There are tons of matriculants every year from Mac Health Sci that get into med school in Canada. And overall, they've been known to have a great research program all around. Now, I will say that they have, again, it's extremely competitive to get in. So if you guys don't get in, don't worry about it. I kind of want to let you guys in a little secret that I didn't know that you guys might be like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. And that has to do with the admission process. So, fun fact to everyone that's applying, your application is actually read by third-year Mac Health Sci students. And they see what they think, and they kind of approve it. That's their AdCom. That's something that I didn't know, and I can probably bet that a majority you don't know either. it does kind of make it interesting, and maybe it could be biased. I don't know. Again, I'm not here to say that. It's not my place to say that, but I do find it really interesting that they have students that are actually looking at these applications and choosing who gets in. So that's something to always look at. But at the end of the day, you know, this is a great program, and you can't really go wrong with it if you get in. Okay, guys, so that wraps up our video. Thank you so much for watching, but we just want to say, no matter where you go, no matter where you end up, you will be fine, okay? We're all here, and we want you to know that this video, again, this is our subject, this is our opinion, right? We're not saying that just because you go anywhere here that we spoke about that you're not going to have a higher chance. It's about you. You decide your future, how hard you work, and at the end of the day, it gets competitive, it's going to get scary, but being a pre-med is just that. It's a journey, it's an experience, and you got to find the right people to have it with. You got to enjoy every moment of it, and you got to work hard, because at the end of the day, when you're wearing that stethoscope on you, it's going to be even more rewarding. So at the end of the day, guys, thank you for watching. Keep working hard, and it will all work out.